Folks, welcome into sportsbookreview.com. It is the NFL show on a football Friday. Cold opening. You know how it gets down here. Last show of the week for me, and I'm excited to bring some hot topics into the equation with the NFL. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We are the sportsbookreview.com NFL team. Kyle, little football Friday powwow, just like we do every single week.
That's right. And now they start to get more and more important. I mean, we're close. We are a month from now. We're putting in week one bets. We're watching preseason football, training camps coming up in a week and a half. I mean, it's football time. It's time to get ready for it. I'm excited for it. Good topics today. A topic maybe we missed last week, possibly, where I know we get to talk about the Eagles a little bit here. Good stuff. I'm excited for today, and I love football. We're close. We are so damn close to football season.
No, we are close, because also, how about this next week, right? Training camps start for two football teams the following week, Kyle. Everybody is in camp, and we are off and running. That's when the information comes out. That's when we can break down the quarterback matchups, who's looking good in camp, who's not, maybe some injuries, which is the shame of it all. Some of these players that we expect, Kyle, to be in the regular season won't even make it to the starting line just because of preseason game injuries. But that's all for here and there. A lot of stuff to get to today. Why don't we start last week? This was a topic we should have had in there. Comeback player of the year. But me, being dyslexic, I guess, read it wrong. And we just said, hey, let's just make it an MVP topic here.
It's
and we'll
age.
get after Patrick
I just say it's age. It's just old age, It's just.
I mean, maybe it was just me being just a professional. Like, you know what? The topic is a little bit wrong. Let's just go with it and have some fun. Yeah. Anybody could talk about Patrick Mahomes. But here we are. Comeback player of the year in the NFL. If we take a look at some of the guys up top here, Dak Prescott, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa. It does look too easy to be true here, Kyle, because when we look at the odds overall, I'm just using the FanDuel Sportsbook here. Dak Prescott's a plus 200. The next closest guy is a running back, Saquon Barkley, followed by Joe Burrow at quarterback, followed by another running back, Christian McCaffrey at plus 700. Initial thoughts here to me, Dak's probably in the driver's seat, right? Gets snapped, injured. The Cowboys stink. Now Dak comes back. They're going to look good on offense if they make the playoffs. He probably is in the front seat for comeback player of the year. Your early thoughts here on this topic?
Yeah, I was actually surprised. It's a nice list. And I start to move down the list. Do I agree? Yeah. If Dak comes in and the Cowboys win, if they go 10-7 and make the playoffs, it's probably going to be him. But a guy like Christian McCaffrey jumps off the board because we know he can just put up these all-world numbers. But how about when we move further down the list? How about a guy like Jimmy G? The 49ers are going to be loaded. If they're healthy, they win the NFC West, and they have a first-round bye. It's going to be really hard for it to not go to Jimmy Garoppolo. And you would assume if the Niners do have that kind of year, that he has stayed healthy. The 1 year he did it, of course, he took him to the Super Bowl. So he has that kind of year, throws 24 touchdowns, 8 picks, first-round bye. 33-1 is what I'm looking at on the DraftKings Sportsbook. That's where the value starts for me. Not so, Sam Darnold, get the hell out of here. Maybe Carson Wentz, 9-1. I kind of think, I do like what's going to happen with the Colts. I think Carson Wentz is going to be better than a lot of people think. We've sort of talked about that throughout this offseason. He's another guy that stands out for me. But, Sam Darnold, 16-1, and maybe Derwin James, if he can find a way to stay healthy and change that Chargers defense and they're able to get into the playoffs. But for me, it's at that 33-1 spot. I really like Jimmy Garoppolo down there. I think that's where the best value is. You're getting the same odds for Jimmy Garoppolo as you are for Danielle Hunter. Come on. That's so ridiculous. Take the quarterback with the talented team with a shot to get to the Super Bowl. I think Jimmy G makes a lot of sense.
No, he does. It's got to be usually a quarterback award. Saquon Barkley, okay, if he comes back, what does he need, Kyle? 1,700 yards on the ground?
Yes.
It's not MVP. I understand that, or, offensive MVP, but still, a running back's a little bit harder to do because you're going to be handling the snap. Like, just to say Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow. I don't know if Joe Burrow's going to be comeback player of the year because what is he actually coming back from? He was a rookie last year. It's not as if this guy had 5 straight years of being a Pro Bowler, gets hurt, and then he comes back and plays well. That's who I think you give it to. Christian McCaffrey is interesting there, but guys like Nick Bosa, defenders are so hard. I know you brought up Derwin James. What does he have to do? Have 15 interceptions?
Exactly.
It's hard for for guys to end up doing that. But also when you take a look back, some of the like Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, the offensive lineman for the Chiefs, at 14-1. I mean, are we serious here? Like, unless we're just saying like we're going to give him this award, Kyle, because he was, man of the year off the field because he gave up his job to be a doctor and now he's coming back. But I don't look at it like that. You got to be able to perform on the field, and a guard coming back to football, I don't think is going to get that. But now, Kyle,
I'll get a tramp stamp. I'll get his name tramp stamped if he wins comeback player of the year.
His initials
will be right there, right there on the back.
You get those initials there. But how about this as we slide it all the way down? Now, I know there's a lot of narratives out here, right? Comeback player of the year. Usually, hey, guy got injured last year. Kyle comes back this year, looks pretty good. You're talking about a guy that hasn't been in the league for quite some time, that if he makes the roster down in Jacksonville and catches 2 touchdown passes, people are going to say, like, hey, that's an amazing comeback, Kyle. 75-1, Tim Tebow.
That is just it's just ridiculous. And on the old number I looked on DK Sportsbook, he had close to the same odds as Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, are we crazy? I mean, are people? It's disrespectful. No, there's another one. If Tardif the guard or Tim Tebow get comeback player of the year, sign me up for the tramp stamp right there on the back. That's what I'll be rocking it. Like I'm in a 1980s movie. I'll be go-go dancing. I'll do everything they want. There's 0%, 0.000% chance Tim Tebow is comeback player of the year. He may not even get 2 touchdowns. Hell, he may not even make the team, which would be shocking, actually, because Urban Meyer's a joke, and they're going to do whatever they can to get as many ticket sales they can in Jacksonville. So I think he'll be there, but it's going to be more of a sort of he's going to get a token roster spot, if you will. No. A guard and Tim Tebow, that's just funny to even see him on the list. It makes absolutely no sense.
There's 2 names on here that really pop off the screen, which usually comeback player of the year is I like to, like, he blew his knee out in week 3 and, works hard to get back, and he was always a good player. Now he's playing good again. Julio Jones, 39-1, and Michael Thomas, 50-1. Like, think about the Michael Thomas thing. Like, let's just say if he is healthy and Jameis Winston's his quarterback and he catches like 120 passes as he's accustomed to. Those are ones that you don't really think about, because when you think about like devastating injuries, like I just can't continue, I snapped my leg in half, as opposed to like just some hamstrings or maybe some ankles here. Those are 2 interesting deep dives on those.
How is it a comeback too? Didn't he play most of the games? I'm confused.
That's what I'm saying. It catches me off
I don't
guard.
understand how that doesn't make any damn sense. Like Saquon Barkley, that makes sense. Dude got hurt right away, gone all year. Julio Jones was just questionable for 16 weeks. But he still played most of the games, if I remember right. I mean, it feels like so long ago. But, I mean, I feel like the over-under games played would probably be around 12 or 13, and I probably exceed it. So what the hell are you coming back from? So he can get the award for me if he's not listed as questionable more than 5 weeks, and I don't see that happening. He's questionable every damn week. He's questionable right now. Or you just put him week 1, questionable, Julio Jones.
That's great. No, it's really interesting that those 2 pop up on that, because you're right. It's supposed to be like, oh, my goodness, he got in a car accident and now he's back and playing football, playing well. Not like, hey, man, my hamstring, I'm questionable every week. What a comeback there by Julio Jones. But then again, he's listed on the odds board, so theoretically he could be an option.
What about the COVID guys, too? Like, coming back from what? You
C.J.
sat
Mosley.
out.
Yeah, exactly.
C.J. Mosley,
Hey, Mosley's
Damian Williams,
great.
Dante Hightower. Like, no, you sat out on purpose. Like, you don't get the comeback player of the year. You got to rest for a year. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. Damian Williams, it'll be funny for me to see his role with Kansas City now that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is sort of taking his spot.
It's interesting. NFL Coach of the Year. Let's talk about that topic. How about this one? Very rare here, Kyle, that you see a rookie head coach lead the way here on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Brandon Staley, a plus 1,200 to win Coach of the Year, followed by Brian Flores, Kyle Shanahan, Arthur Smith, Sean McVay. So obviously, most of the coaches in the NFL will be on here. It's just a matter of picking out what a Coach of the Year actually means. Now, Brandon Staley goes out there for the Chargers. They make the playoffs. Legitimate shot at that, because we like a lot of things, Kyle, that are brand new. Like, we like the new guy, because otherwise you would just be voting in, Bill Belichick every single year. He's always the best coach. We don't care, and get it in. But we like new stuff. He's a new toy. Same thing with Brian Flores. Thought he did a great job last year, but now you see this year he's got Tua under center. Let's see if they can convert that into wins and possibly make the playoffs with him. Kyle Shanahan, we know. Come on, Arthur Smith. Is Atlanta going to win the division and make I don't think so. So I don't know how he's going to get 14-1. But there are some deep shots here, like Sean McDermott, 17-1. Frank Reich, 17-1. Sean Payton, 20. Like, you got some deep dives here, some really good coaches that are going to pay off at roughly 20-1, Kyle.
Yeah, and I would think you would want a coach who is going to have to overcome a little adversity, right? That's what it seems to go to, right? Like sort of the unexpected. It's never
Hmm.
like Andy Reid. I'm looking at one list; he's 20-1. Well, Andy Reid, the Chiefs are expected to do really well, and if they do really well, are they going to be like the only way he's getting it is if Patrick Mahomes gets hurt in the second week, and then they have a great year with their backup
Yeah.
quarterback, and like, oh, what a job by Andrew Reid. That's why when you said Frank Reich, that jumps off the page to me. Things have to go right here, right? Put it this way: if Frank Reich's the coach of the year, I bet you Carson Wentz is the
There
comeback
you
player of
go.
the year
Good
as
one.
well.
Good
So you
thinking.
sort
Good
of tie
thinking.
it
Yeah.
together, right? So okay, they're not Carson Wentz, sort of this reclamation project from Philadelphia, all these weird things. Philip Rivers retires, had the heartbreaking loss in the playoffs to Buffalo last year. If they're able to win that division with Carson Wentz as a quarterback, and he looks like the real deal in Indianapolis, which I honestly, I think we both are on the same page. I think Carson Wentz is going to be better than advertised this year for the Colts. I think it's actually an upgrade for that offense over Philip Rivers, and I know some people won't like that, but the physical tools are there, the toughness is there. He'll get it done. Frank Reich stands out to me. A guy with some adversity, new quarterback coming in. You're getting a good number. You know, like Kyle Shanahan for the 49ers. He might be a guy just because they had a bad year last year with all the injuries and they drafted Trey Lance, maybe. But we expect the 49ers to be good. We expect the Browns to be good. Uh, the Chargers one's interesting. I don't know if I'm taking a rookie head coach. Now, you're absolutely right. They make the playoffs and, win some games. That offense should be rip roaring. It could be interesting. But for me, Frank Reich makes a ton of sense right there at 17-1, 16-1. I just think if they make the playoffs, you can kind of combo that in. You can get Frank Reich and Carson Wentz. That's kind of where my mind's at when I look at the list.
You're not taking a shot at Mike McCarthy at 25-1 here?
I'm most certainly not taking a Mike McCarthy. If they did a coach's spelling bee, Mike McCarthy wouldn't get past cat. He would be like, wait, cat, use it in a sentence. And he would get it wrong. He'd spell it with a K. Mike McCarthy, get the hell out of here. Nothing would piss me off more. Nothing would piss me off more than him getting coach of the year.
That would be interesting, but there's some because again, you're talking about a market that's just a very odd one here. You're trying to take a look. Usually, NFL Coach of the Year comes up from a guy who hasn't won it before, whose team might struggle the year before, makes a push towards the division and possibly the playoffs. Now, the fact that Dan Campbell sits at 38-1 and he's over guys like Cliff Kingsbury, because if Kingsbury gets the Arizona Cardinals to the playoffs and wins that division over the Rams and the 49ers, he's pulling down a price, Kyle, 45-1. Now, David Culley is a 70-1 long shot, dead last place. So there's very low chance.
What
of that.
about Sean Payton too? That could be it. You know, Drew Brees retires. Now you're dealing with Jameis. If they are able to win the division, high pedigree guy. I think there's value in, like, I'm looking at 18-1 Sean Payton. There's probably some value there too.
Yeah, there's good coaches. Now, Nick Sirianni, who didn't have the greatest press conference, but you look at guys, he's 55-1. The division isn't that good. Washington is, Ryan Fitzpatrick, they're going to be a decent football team. Dallas, I know your thoughts on them already. They're boom or bust. The Giants, but the Eagles were such a mess last year. They're going to be healthy this year. If they improve and double their win total and possibly make the playoffs or get a wild card, not to say they are, but you're looking at a monster ticket. Those are the shots, Kyle, that like Bruce Arians to win at 30-1. Why would you waste your money? They're a really good football team. They're supposed to win. But some of these teams that aren't supposed to win or maybe on the come up, it's not 2-1, Kyle. It's not 3-1, 5-1, 55-1. If the Eagles win the division next year, he would be coach of the year, 55-1.
Yeah, and especially with all the reports coming out. Poor guy's had a tough offseason for being a rookie coach. Usually they like him, they're excited, and it's like, players are talking smack in the locker room. You're right. That's a winnable division for any of those teams in that division. He does it. That's a long shot. You want a division winner if you're getting coach of the year. I think that's a really interesting take. I hadn't looked at that. I think that's a smart way to look at it. And again, you're betting futures here. You're putting your money, away for 8 months. May as well have some fun with it. What's the point of taking the favorite? Get the hell out of here with that. I kind of like the Sirianni one. That's interesting.
I mean, looking at 55-1, 70-1s, 55-1s, because usually you'd think that market would be a lot more depressed. Like, okay, we'll put 30 coaches or 32 coaches up here, and the longest shot would be 32-1, right? So you'd rank them all in order, basically. But you are getting some ridiculously long prices out here. Let's slide it down. $4 million, Kyle, in the NFL to prevent injuries. Finally, the NFL doing something maybe that's smart. I say this every year and just about every week, and it's going to go on again this year. The same way I have some fun where I make the phone calls here and start talking to guys into the future and say, you know what, here's what's going to take place. We're going to see this, Kyle, like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Hey, you left the game early with a hamstring injury. No, man. I just cramped up a little bit. I'm good. See it in about 4 to 6 weeks, buddy, because athletes, specifically high-octane athletes who have never had a hamstring injury, they don't understand what it actually entails. So the fact that the NFL is spending money here to try to say, hey, let's get to the bottom of injuries like this where maybe we can prevent them, because there's no bigger fear from your team, Kyle. A wide receiver, a running back, you're playing fantasy. The hamstring injury, I should call it the Julio Jones injury. Yep. Like, are you going to practice this week? Are you going to play? Are you going to play for 1 quarter and leave the football game? I like what the NFL is doing here, being proactive, Kyle.
Yeah, it's smart. And it's from that same group who recommended this, as the same people with the CTE and all the neuroscience stuff. And it's smart. I mean, plain and simple, it's smart. Sorry, there's a little bit of an air show going on over here. Although they have been better about that lately once I got a hold of that guy and complained. So I am proud of myself for that. But, yeah, no, it's a good thing. We all agree. We want to see the players on the field. We don't want to, you don't want to be betting on the Falcons like, oh, we're relying on Russell Gage the third again this week because Julio Jones couldn't play. I mean, how many years have we dealt with that? And it's smart. Soft tissue issues, hamstring issues are 75% of the injuries in the league. It's something like that. And it was kind of mind-blowing. I didn't know that the number was that high. Soft tissue injuries are a major problem. It's especially later on in the year. It just starts to hurt these football teams. It hurts us as fans. It makes it less interesting. It makes fantasy more difficult, and it just makes everything more difficult. If they can figure out a way even to cut that down just a few percentage points where we're not, having to watch the Wayne Gallmans of the world, carry the ball 40 times a game. Nobody wants to see that. So it's smart by the NFL. Finally, something good to say about the NFL. I like what they're doing here. They probably need to do this every year, keep pumping more and more. When you see the 4 million number, you're like, it's weird how society has changed, right? $4 million when I was a kid, it's like, oh my God, you're
cure cancer with that.
Yeah, you're a king. You can cure cancer with it. Now it's like, $4 million. What can you do? Like buy 4 Snickers and invest in a milk company or something. But no, it's good by the NFL. I hope they get to the bottom of it, and hopefully we see the results sooner than later. It's not one of these 5-year, 10. We don't have that much time. We're getting old, Donnie. They need to get this shit done now so we can see the results.
So they can help my hamstrings. Like, exactly. I'll be a participant here. Tell me to run in a straight line. I'll blow my hamstring out and see if you guys can fix it really quick here. So that's the way it goes down. But being preemptive here for the NFL, it's good because hamstring injuries ruin a lot of seasons for a lot of players because, as you know, you get one week 2 or week 3, you heal up for 3 weeks. How many times does that come right back and sort of damages your season? Yeah. Now, let's get to some playoff talk here because talking about Cliff Kingsbury, if they do win the NFC West, obviously they would get a trip to the playoffs, maybe Cliff Kingsbury getting some Coach of the Year votes. But how about the Arizona Cardinals to actually make the playoffs? If you put Arizona, Kyle, in the NFC East, I say they're going to make the playoffs. But when you look at the football team overall, it's not a bad defense. Yeah, they had J.J. Watt, maybe a little bit more sizzle than steak in that aspect. But you have Kyler Murray, another year in Cliff Kingsbury's system. You have some really good wide receivers, some decent running backs, and a good offensive line. The only issue, once again, is the division you play in. So they sit here to make the playoffs at a plus 176 number. They are talented enough to make the playoffs, but you're going up against some really, really good football teams out there. Do you think the Arizona Cardinals can make the playoffs, Kyle?
Well, I think they can. They were, this close last year, and that Kyler Murray injury kind of hampered them down the stretch, and that offense just kind of sputtered out. And then they lost several games, finished 8-8, didn't make it, lost on the tiebreaker, and didn't get in. So they were really close. But this year, again, that defense, they didn't do much to upgrade it. The defense is the major problem of that team. And, sort of not relying enough on the running game, making Kyler Murray, they just can't do that anymore. Obviously, Kenyon Drake is gone, and they brought in somebody. Trying to remember who they brought in to be the running back, but whatever. They did bring in A.J. Green, so another old guy to complement the other old guys outside of DeAndre Hopkins on the receiving core. I don't expect the 49ers to be a 6-7 win team again. I expect them to be healthy. You've got to remember that.
What about James Conner, I guess?
Yeah, James Conner. Oh, my God, the word.
Ooh, so speed. The turtle. Yes, the turtle's back.
Yeah, that's such a huge downgrade. You may as well have just cut one leg off of Todd Gurley and brought him in. For Christ's sake, that is so terrible, James Conner. But the 49ers, I don't anticipate them having $100 million on injured reserve next year. I think by all accounts, we expect them to be a good team. Of course, the Rams, going to be better with Stafford, no Jared Goff. Seahawks seem a little bit weird, kind of a weird offseason, but anytime you have Russell Wilson and you have that home field advantage, which they're going to have back this year in Seattle, it makes things exponentially more difficult to play in Seattle. So for me, if I'm going to take the Cardinals, can the Cardinals make the playoffs? Absolutely. Do I like Kyler Murray? I like him a lot. Hopkins, a lot. But plus 176, don't you need a juicier number for that? For me, that would have to be sitting at 8-9-1 for me to think that that's a reasonable bet to make. I just don't think there's a clear enough path at that number to bet them.
It's very tough. Like a 176 for a good football team it's an average number, but look at the schedule, Kyle, as we go over it. Open the season at Tennessee. That's a tough game right off the bat. You get Minnesota at home, who's a good football team, but you should win that. Go on the road against Jacksonville. So let's just say you're going up 2-1 on the season. Now take a look at this, Kyle. At the Rams, San Francisco 49ers at home. At the Browns, you get a breather versus the Texans, but then you play the Green Bay Packers, who let's just say they have Aaron Rodgers. Then you go back on the road and play the Giants. You play the Panthers at home, a winnable game. You go on the road to play Seattle, which fans now is always tough. You get the bye week, Kevin. Get the bye week. Get the bye week, Kyle. I'm looking at the Bears right now. I'm like, I don't know what I'm even talking about. Bears, Rams, cupcake with the Lions, Colts, Cowboys, and Seahawks. You're probably gonna have to pick up 10 wins here. I honestly don't see 10 wins. I don't.
Yeah, that's just tough for me. And not at that number. Again, if we're getting 10-1 or 9-1, maybe you take a sprinkle and hope they get hot. And I think the talent's there. But for me, they didn't do enough on that defense. And you just mentioned a lot of teams who are going to be able to score points. That Cardinals defense can't stop anyone. Even though Patrick Peterson was not the same Patrick Peterson, he still was their best corner. He's gone. He's now out in Minnesota. What did they do to upgrade that defense outside of J.J. Watt, who I'm sorry does not make me think your defense is very good? It's going to be tough. Number's not juicy enough for me. I need 8, 9, 10, 11.
8, 9. Look, what is that? Jacksonville numbers?
I need 8
like Houston
to make the
Texans are
playoffs.
plus 710. Houston.
Yes, good. Who's giving out those numbers? The Texans should be plus 40 million to make the playoffs. The Texans have such a I need a juicier number there. I don't trust it enough. It's really tough. That's the best division in football. I don't know if I'm willing to spring on the Cardinals there. Anything that it's just not that exciting to me. Plus 175. I mean, come on.
That's the tough part about it, because again, if they were in a different division, like you're butting your head, through these other 3 teams in your division that are very good football teams, you don't get a breather in the division, which a lot of other teams do. Like, oh, hey, we're going to play Jacksonville, or for decades in the AFC East, when we were taking a look at the New England Patriots, just said, hey, they got 6 wins to start the season. Now see if they can beat some of these teams in the other scheduling parts. So it is an interesting one, but they are a very talented team. We'll see how that plays out. But I agree with you. They are a playoff team, but they play in that division. So I don't know if they can actually make the playoffs at this point here. Watson on the move? Question mark here. Deshaun Watson, super talented quarterback. A lot of troubles off the field. You know damn well, Kyle, as well as I do, the teams are going to trade with the Houston Texans to get a great quarterback like he is. But behind the scenes, these teams are calling the NFL and Roger Goodell in the front office is like, hey, look, I got a couple first-round draft picks on the table. Don't tell me I'm going to make this move and then you're going to just ban him for 3 years and I can't make this move. That's why we're not hearing anything else. I don't think Deshaun Watson ever plays again, Kyle, for the Houston Texans. But there's so many uncertainties. We saw Adam Schefter say, hey, the Eagles are in the wheelhouse to get this guy. If he was still saying, no legal troubles, but wanted to leave, the Eagles had 3 first-round draft picks that they probably would give up in the next draft in order to get him, and maybe a possible second-rounder, third-rounder down the line. That would make sense. But who in their right mind right now is going to be like, you know what, I got to make the move for Deshaun Watson. He might end up in jail. Like, how do you know?
It's tough, but I will tell you, if I was going to trade for him, I'd want to do it now while it's all up in the air, because that's so much. I mean, you don't have to offer 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson anymore, right? You're like, look, we'll send you a second-round pick. We'll send you, who cares? Jalen Hurts, get him the hell out of here. He's not a real NFL quarterback anyways. Send him over there, and if he doesn't play next year, we'll pay his salary. You can work out a much better deal than, hey, my 6-game suspension's up. I'm ready to hit the field again. Then the Texans are going to be like, well, hey, he missed 6 games. He's ready to go. This is one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. The asking price just went way up. So if I'm Howie Roseman, I'm like, hey, you know what? Maybe I can sneak a deal in here. Maybe we gamble a little bit on the future because it's really, really uncertain. I don't think he's going to jail. It doesn't seem like that's one of these situations.
He's got too much money to go to jail.
He's not going to jail. Eventually here, there's going to be a settlement. It'll probably happen after the year's over in February when the court cases get a little bit closer. They're going to sort out a deal. The interesting thing is, what's the NFL going to do? Are they going to put him on that commissioner exempt list? Are they just going to suspend him 6 games? How is that going to work out? I'll be surprised if he plays any snaps this year. But that's why I would make the trade now, get him for a cheaper price, and just sort of bet on your future. Throw away a 2nd-round pick next year. Maybe one 1st-round pick for Deshaun Watson would have sounded insane.
But they won't do that, though. They'll sit him. They'll rather sit him and say, go through your legal issues. And then when you come back, once you're suspended for 8 games, we'll still keep you inactive for the entire season and then move you in the offseason. Because, as I said, those Eagles' first 3-round pick, or the 3 first-round picks that they have in 2022, they're still going to be there at the end of the year. So, and then have a clear strategy on what to anticipate. And also, you don't want the fallout for your football team. Like, what happens if worse stuff comes out down the line? I just traded for this guy? And how is you as an owner? You're the one that okays this. This isn't the GM just, hey, by the way, hey, owner, I just traded for Deshaun Watson. What? What did you do? No. This is an organizational decision from all these guys. But seeing him, he's so talented here, but so caught up off the field. But I don't know if the risk is worth the reward just yet until you see or get some clarification on his legal issues.
Yeah, exactly. And someone asked in the chat box, why aren't they talking about Aaron Rodgers for Deshaun Watson? Deshaun Watson will not fit in well in Green Bay. Let's just put it that way. And,
why not?
You can't
put him up in the cold.
Yeah, put him up in the cold. That's not the type of city you take a guy who's having issues with. We saw how that played out with Brett Favre after he left there, and that still didn't go well. All Brett Favre liked to do is take creepy pictures. That one they're not talking about it because it's completely unreasonable and it's crazy. There's no way in hell the Packers would get rid of Aaron Rodgers for a chance at a guy who's probably not going to play next year, and we'll have to see what it looks like the year after. It's man, the Deshaun Watson thing makes me sad. It was such an exciting story to start the offseason. Awesome quarterback going somewhere. It's going to turn someone instantly into a title contender.
Niners.
And now we have a guy like dry humping the air. You know what I mean? That went real south real fast. It's just, the whole thing bums me out. It'll be interesting. For me personally, I like to take a few chances. So I would be trying to buy low on Watson now if I'm a team who wants him, as opposed to paying more later. But that's just me. Scared money doesn't make money. But most likely this is not going to be handled this year. Deshaun Watson's going to be on that commissioner's exempt list. He's not going to play. They're going to try to get him out of sight and out of mind and handle this in the offseason.
Yeah, interesting. It is very interesting. He's an ultra-talented player that many teams would like. The Denver Broncos, the Philadelphia Eagles, they're always going to have that dialer saying, as soon as word comes down what the suspension will or won't be, I'm pretty sure he will be moved shortly after that. We just don't know when that is actually going to take place. Some final thoughts today as we started the beginning of the show with about 1 week away from training camps underway, and that's because the teams that go early play in the Hall of Fame game, which, again, Hall of Fame is an interesting weekend. You have the game that shows up there in Canton, and we are underway for the National Football League season and off and running. So each and every week we'll be able to have games to break down or just look at, hey, did you see that rookie, how well he played? This guy didn't play that well. The good part about this season also, only 3 preseason games, and before you know, Kyle, that Thursday night football game between the Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and off we go in the 2021 season.
We're ready to rock and roll, and we're gonna have I'm gonna have preseason DFS stuff out there. It's just so many more fun ways to make money and more fun ways to get mad at your favorite NFL teams. We're gonna have the fans back in the stands, so it's gonna be so much different than last year. I mean, we didn't think about road and home teams outside of the weather on occasion, maybe a long travel week from a Thursday to a Monday game, etc. Fans are back now. Now we're gonna get those customary 3 points for the home teams. The lines are going to be back to what we're used to seeing. I think there's going to be a lot of spots to make money this year. Really, really excited about it. 1 week away from training camp. It feels just like yesterday we were saying, well, it's a long haul. We've got 7 months. Yeah, here we are.
Yep, we're getting the details together behind the scenes, the powers that be, setting up the schedules that will work out well. You guys know, Lane, we are powered at sportsbookreview.com around football season, and off we go. We're just a short few weeks away, and one of my favorite shows that we do, Kyle, together is always the Sunday show starting at noon. That 1 hour, fine-tuning, getting after it, getting ready for kickoff, usually signing off at like 12:58. Here we go, and off we go and running. So hopefully we have a very good, profitable season. But thank you guys for tuning in here on a Friday to talk a little bit of football here and have a nice little powwow on the updated subjects. Next week, we will actually have teams that are in camp that we can start to talk about, particularly those Dallas Cowboys. But thanks once again for tuning in. I'm Donnie Seymour. He's Kyle Purviance. We are sportsbookreview.com, and the football season is just about to be underway. And as always, good luck on those wagers.